Brothers, I'm bringing horror movies again. Today is still the American Horror Story series, The Abyss. The story takes place on a lunar eclipse night. An old man ran into the church in a panic, and he was holding a child in his arms. After praying to Jesus in front of him, the old man took out a knife from his pocket and was about to kill the child on the spot. Just as the knife was about to be stabbed, two police officers who heard the sound broke in. They ordered the old man to put down the knife, or they would shoot. But the old man said he was saving you, and said the baby was not a human at all. Then he raised the knife. At the same time, the police shot the old man several times. The camera shifted. A man carrying a suitcase came to a monastery, and he was the baby Dashin who was saved. He is now also a police officer. After hearing that 7 missing girls in society were related to this monastery, he came to investigate anonymously. Then Dashin successfully infiltrated the monastery, and he became a priest. But the first meal he ate here broke Dashin. He found that these monks ate some unknown raw meat and bloody. He followed the local customs. Dashin didn't dare to say anything, but as he chewed, he pulled out a bunch of hair from his mouth. Dashin quickly went to the toilet and vomited it all out. Then, he felt something in his mouth. When he took it out, it was actually a human tooth, and maggots grew inside the tooth. Although Dashin was shocked, but it also confirmed that the missing girls should have something to do with the monastery. With a skeptical attitude, Dashin followed the abbot to an exorcism ceremony. They stood in a row holding candles, and the possessed girl was in front of them, with the dean sprinkling holy water. The demon in the girl was instantly scared, but she still didn't plan to leave. The abbot picked up a Bible and started reading. Under this series of spells, the demon finally couldn't hold back and fell into madness. Seeing this, the dean quickly asked his subordinates to bring a cross, but unexpectedly, when he raised it, the cross suddenly burst into a flame. Everyone was stunned. In the end, although the demon was expelled by the dean, the girl also died due to physical damage. Then Dashin took advantage of them burying the girl, sneaked into the dean's office. Under the bed, he found an injected morphine. This dose was enough to kill an adult, and when Dashin stood by the bed, he found a mechanism that could make the bed shake itself. There was a fan on the opposite side, which could make the room gusty at any time. And the cross was also fake, just like a lighter that will light up when you press it. Could this exorcism be fake? While Dashin continued to investigate, the appearance of a person suddenly interrupted him. He said his name was Depang, and the dean's personal secretary. He told Dashin that his every move had been monitored by the abbot, advised Dashin to stop immediately and take care of himself. And this monastery has strong connections. Anyone who steps into here, there is no possibility of leaving, because Depang wanted to escape from here 3 years ago, but was caught by the abbot on the spot, and locked him in the dungeon for 3 days and nights. But Dashin took a gamble at this time. He told Depang all about his identity as a police officer, and promised to help him find evidence of the dean's crime. Then he would take Depang away with him. The camera changed. Dashin smelled something behind a cabinet. There was a smell of decay, so he went up and pushed the cabinet away. A hole appeared in front of him, and blood was all around. Dashin endured the stench and reached in. He actually grabbed a human eyeball from inside, and the eyeball was moving up and down. Dashin was sick on the spot, and threw up the lunch he had just eaten. He suspected that those who died due to exorcism weren't buried at all, but were eaten by the dean as food. With these doubts, at night, when it was quiet, sneaked to the cemetery. After a few shovels, he dug up a mound. But when he lifted the lid, the coffin was empty. There was no corpse. Just as Dashin was in a daze, a man covered him with a sack from behind. When Dashin woke up, he found his hands and feet tied. There was a man sitting opposite him, telling him to be quiet. Then the dean walked in, kindly brought 4 bowls of delicious meat, and then stuffed pieces of meat into his mouth. Dashin knew the origin of the meat clearly. He refused to eat. But at this moment, he had no choice. The strong man forced his mouth open and stuffed all the meat into his mouth. Dashin didn't understand why the dean gave him so much meat to eat. So while the guard was asleep, he secretly untied the ropes on his body. But in less than 3 seconds, the guard actually opened his eyes. Dashin immediately jumped up from the bed and quickly grabbed the pistol nearby. After dealing with the guard, Dashin came to the kitchen in the dark. He saw a pile of unknown meat in the iron pot, and it gave off a pungent and unpleasant smell. Just as Dashin opened the door of the cold storage, He finally discovered the truth. Inside, there were 7 neatly hung corpses, and these should be the 7 missing girls. At this time, Tepang came over, saying he had a major discovery to tell Dashin. Then they went to the library and opened a book. Babies born during a lunar eclipse represent the chosen one, must be killed at birth. If not killed, the chosen one will swallow the flesh of 7 evil women and drink the blood of a virgin. Then the chosen one will turn into a demon, and the world will come to an end. Tepang said they thought you were the chosen one, so they have to complete these rituals. But Dashin just wanted to escape from here and bring troops to take over the monastery. He asked Tepang if there was a secret passage out. Dapin said there was indeed one, which he used to escape. Then they got in through the back of the hall. Dashin followed Tepang to a mine. Just as he thought he was going to escape, 2 monks suddenly appeared and attacked Dashin with punches and kicks. Then they knocked him out. It turned out that Tepang was the mole planted by the abbot. They set a trap for Dashin and played Dashin around, and the news of the missing girl was deliberately released to the police to lure Dashin to the monastery. The camera turns. Dashin was tied up. The abbot and his minions all put on red robes. He said that the well was the passage to hell. For this moment, their family has been waiting for hundreds of years. The abbot asked everyone to welcome this great moment. Then a virgin was pushed over. Then a monk directly cut her throat. After pouring the virgin's blood into the merchant's mouth, the dean led his followers to start the summoning.
Furley had no stamina.
Furley had no stamina.
Furley had no stamina.
But after chanting it dozens of times, nothing around them changed. The dean asked the fat man next to him if there was any step missing. Tepang said they had done everything as the book said, and there was no mistake. The dean guessed that Dashin might not be the chosen one, so he asked Tepang to stab Dashin to death and threw the body into a deep well. The camera changed because the ceremony failed. He got drunk. Then Tepang came over. After glancing at the abbot, Tepang picked up a pillow and covered the dean, because as long as the abbot died, he could become the successor of the monastery. The next day, Tepang told everyone that the abbot had died. They guessed that the abbot died of excessive grief, since the monastery couldn't be without a master. Tepang became the new abbot. Then he led his disciples, held a funeral for the abbot in the church. At this moment, a fly came out of the dean's nostril. The fly followed the tunnel and flew all the way into the well. After touching Dashin's body, Dashin miraculously came back to life. After struggling to get up from the ground, Dashin suddenly twitched and smoke rose from his body. Meanwhile, Tepang was still reading the Bible. The disciples admired him very much. Tepang felt the taste of power for the first time. But at this moment, Tepang suddenly started to tremble all over, and then, in front of everyone's eyes, he actually flew into the air, and his hands unconsciously spread outwards, forming a cross shape. Then Tepang turned into ashes. Countless flies emerged from his body. Following the perspective of the flies, a pair of claws stretched out from the darkness. A monster with horns appeared in the hall. He walked towards the place where Tepang stood just now, and then opened his arms and roared. People were scared and ran for their lives. But the next second, they were nailed in place. Even Jesus behind him was scared to turn his head away, and turned away. Then the monster glanced at Jesus, slowly opened his arms, and began to recite something. And the monks behind also unconsciously floated into the air. Everyone was frozen in a strange position with their heads down, were frozen in place, and everyone in the cell also posed in the same posture. With the monster's constant roar, a big crack appeared in the church. The crack kept extending upwards, and finally reached the sky. The camera shifted. We saw the outside world was upside down. The sky above the monastery suddenly broke a big hole. Countless extremely dark creatures kept pouring into the world, and the movie ends.